The State Security Service of Latvia found advertisements on the internet to join the Wagner PMC. In August, special services detained 2 agitators in Poland who posted leaflets and distributed propaganda materials advertising Prigozhin's Mercenaries. After the Wagner terrorist group was relocated to Belarus, they became the main threat of instability to neighboring countries.
Россия прощупывает решимость НАТО.
Russia is probing NATO's resolve. It is trying to demonstrate that NATO is not ready to confront Russia. Of course, there is some truth here. It's that NATO is not ready for a full-scale confrontation. It is trying to avoid it and will not escalate it on its side until the last moment. But it is falsely perceived as a weakness. It is rather their responsibility. NATO has now changed the doctrine to stop the enemy at the borders, push it deep into its own territory and continue to fight it on its territories.
Moscow and Minsk are also using migrants as an instrument of pressure. Back in 2021, the Lukashenko regime organized the transit of migrants from the Middle East and provoked a crisis on the borders with the neighbors. Now the number of attempts to illegally cross the border has risen sharply again. Latvia and Lithuania are stepping up border controls. Vilnius announced the closure of 2 checkpoints on the border with Belarus.
Все понимают, что это делает Путин.
Everyone understands that Putin is doing this, that Russia is doing this, but it has not been directly proven as it was in Crimea, Little Green Man. Remember, right? It is the same here. Even about the same provocations at the border. These may be migrants, among them may be Wagner militias.
In addition to the Baltic countries, the provocations of Minsk and Moscow are aimed at Poland. In early August, 2 Belarusian helicopters defiantly entered the country's airspace. Prior to that, during a meeting with Vladimir Putin, Alexander Lukashenko said that, quoting, Wagner PMC mercenaries are rushing to Poland. In response, Warsaw created a military task force to carry out Operation Rengulf. Its goal is to train troops on the border with Belarus and create a reserve in case the situation worsens.
There is no doubt that the Polish border is under threat. We observe constant pressure on the Polish border. Attempts by migrants to illegally cross the border, who are encouraged by the Belarusian regime. Undoubtedly, the Belarusian regime cooperates with the Kremlin. This action is directed against Poland in order to destabilize our country. Mariusz Błaszczak, Minister of National Defense of Poland, in a comment to TVN24.
In addition, in Poland, they plan to hold a referendum simultaneously with the parliamentary elections on October the 15th. Citizens will be asked 4 questions. 2 of them are directly related to the crisis. Is it worth demolishing the fence on the border with Belarus, and whether to accept migrants from the countries of the Middle East and Africa under the EU program? Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.